Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of TSFP. I'm Phil Kip, doing the Spanish football podcast with Sid Lowe. Hello, Sydney.
Hi, Philip. How are you?
I'm okay. Now, tell me, have you been travelling hundreds of miles all around Spain in the last 48 hours watching different Spanish football matches?
Yes, I was in Barcelona on Saturday and Elche last night to see Barcelona
Good.
against Athletic and Elche against Real Madrid.
Do you fancy telling us all about it?
Good idea.
Yes. All right, let's do that then. This is what happened on Matchday 13. It all kicked off on Friday night with a Valencian derby at Mestalla. Valencia beating Levante 1-0. Brilliant bicycle kick from Hugo Duro. Hard Hugo with the only goal of the game. Big win for Valencia. Levante are in trouble. Then on Saturday, Celta won 1-0 at Alaves. Barcelona beat Athletic Club 4-0. Big win for them on their return to the Camp Nou. That was primarily why Sydney was there. Real Sociedad came from behind to beat Osasuna 3-1 at El Sadar. Osasuna in problems, I think, and Real Sociedad are certainly on an upward trajectory. And Villarreal, it's their best ever start to a league campaign. They beat Mallorca 2-1 at the Estadio de la Cerámica. They're having problems in the Champions League, but domestically they're going very well indeed. Villarreal currently sitting in third spot. Then on Sunday, the TSFP derby between Oviedo and Rayo Vallecano inevitably finished 0-0 between two sides who cannot bloody score.
Yeah.
But we'll potentially talk about that in just a second. Betis drew 1-1 with Girona. Isco making his comeback from injury after 3.5 months out and immediately providing an assist. Betis coming from behind. They were trailing to Girona. Anthony getting a late red card in that game, which means he will miss next weekend's derby against Seville. Atletico Madrid beat Getafe 1-0 at the Coliseum. I'm going to stick my neck out and say this was a bloody awful game. I was commentating it, didn't enjoy it, but I knew it. I knew it was going to be like this. It was always ever going to be like this. And it was won by an own goal with 7 minutes to go. Atletico Madrid getting a little bit of fortune, but Diego Simeone says you need to have luck as well if you're gonna win things. And Elche 2, Real Madrid 2, an absolutely thrilling game at the Martí V, the Estadio Martínez Valero. Yes. Monday Night Football is Espanyol against Sevilla. Now, have you joined us over at patreon.com/TSFP yet? You really should have. I've been telling you to do so for years. Patrons get the Monday and preview pod absolutely free of adverts. Plus, you get a Q&A pod and a bonus pod every week. There's the newsletter, the Discord, and the TSFP diary. It starts from just €4.75 a month. There are annual memberships too, which are a little bit cheaper, and they are the perfect Christmas gift for the La Liga lover in your life. So why not get involved in that? Listen, City were at the two big games this weekend, and Barcelona against Athletic Club. It was a big deal because Barcelona were back at the Camp Nou 909 days later. We kind of dealt with your feelings of being at the new stadium in the TSFP diary, which is a brilliant edition of the diary. Even if I say so myself, Sid has gone excelled himself once again with some brilliant work there. So go and listen to that at patreon.com/TSFP because it's worth it. But I think we'll start with Elche against Real Madrid because I think there are more things to break down from this game. And then we'll move on and talk about the actual game of Barcelona against Athletic Club. So Elche 2, Real Madrid 2. Elche, I mean, we've been going on about them for quite a while now that they're brilliant to watch. Real Madrid are not brilliant to watch at all.
No, they're really not. And I'm very conscious of trying to, or at least I'm conscious of not allowing Elche to be forgotten in the crisis talk with Real Madrid, in the analysis of Real Madrid, because Elche were genuinely brilliant. So before we get on to Real Madrid, just a very quick put this up at the very top. Elche were fantastic and completely deserved more. Should have beaten Real Madrid. It finishes 2-2. Elche scored 2 lovely goals. Real Madrid scored 2 goals from set plays, which isn't to say they're not valid. They are valid, but they scored 2 goals from set plays. Both of them very scrappy. Both of them, in my opinion, a little bit ropey in terms of the decision as well. And in that sense, I think Real Madrid got away with it. So, having said that, let's get on to Real Madrid. I sort of don't know where to start, except to say that what we talked about a month ago, maybe a little bit more, when we were talking about the beginning of what we thought was a structure, when we were talking about a Real Madrid team pressing a little bit higher, a Real Madrid team not allowing the other teams to have opportunities, not allowing the other team to really get into the game, having more possession, that possession not necessarily being used to really go and attack teams, but being used to control games with. And actually, even that part of it is gone. So earlier in the season, when we were saying that, we were saying, they're not that exciting. They're not creating very much, but they feel like they're just superior to their opponents through control. And they don't have that now. I thought they had very, very little last night. It was a very strange lineup where they played two left fullbacks, albeit it's true in the end that it wasn't actually a 5-man defense, which we thought it might be. It was Fran Garcia literally playing a left wing.
Yeah,
a position where you have Mbappe and Vinicius and Rodrigo and even Bellingham, and you've got Fran Garcia playing there. The absence of Fede Valverde, obviously he'd been on international break. Vinicius had been on international break as well. I think you can make a case for that. They're going to Olympiacos in midweek, although that in theory shouldn't be the big game for them. They probably felt that they could get a result anyway against Elche, and maybe they could have done with those players. This isn't a case of them losing because of this team. It feels like something a bit deeper than that.
What is it then?
Well, it's lots of things. It's difficult to put your finger on one particular thing. I think it is players not necessarily fulfilling the roles that are being given to them. I think you saw moments yesterday, and I know this is a bit tongue-in-cheek and it's a little bit silly, but I just got sent a video about 10 minutes ago of an Elche attack, and Real Madrid's players are turning and running back to goal, and so is the referee. And the referee is going faster than the Real Madrid players. Now, I know, obviously, it's a bit silly, but actually, as a portrait, it's relatively useful. And I think that we're seeing a team that isn't getting to the ball quicker than the opponents. We're seeing a team that doesn't seem to have a structure the way it did, that isn't, to use that great word that we always come back to, contundente. It's not decisive in its actions. It doesn't win the challenges and get rid of the ball. I feel like it hasn't quite worked, the attempt to bring Gula slightly deeper to allow Bellingham to be a bit further up. That's broken, if you like, that connection between Gula and Kylian Mbappe. Mbappe, who had two really good chances in this game, and we shouldn't overlook that. Two really good chances, both of them saved by Iñaki Peña. One of them, I think, Mbappe overhits his touch and therefore runs out of space. The second one is an all right side-footed volley, but he still should score, and it's a very good save. But those are his two shots. He actually had another one, I think, earlier on. Having not had any shots in the previous two games, I think they're not finding him as much. They don't have presence in the penalty area. They don't really seem to have control across the middle of the pitch, although they just about won the possession battle in this. I think it was 51-49 or maybe 52-48. But they just don't look alive. They don't look inspired. They don't look quick. They don't look like they're enjoying it, but nor do they look like they're prepared to suffer, if you see what I mean.
Well, I mean, when it's like this, when this is the overall picture, it's hard not to let your mind drift towards blaming the manager, right?
Of course it is. Of course, absolutely. And or blaming, if you like, a broader question, which is about the culture of the club, the mentality of some of the players. But of course, it's the manager's job to help build that culture. Now, obviously, within some very significant difficulties at club. And things like, for example, Xabi Alonso wanting what we talked about in the summer lots and lots of times, wanting the number 5 that he didn't get, wanting Zubimendi. We've talked about a million times. It's such a no-brainer that it still seems quite bizarre. Things like, for example, after the Clásico, when you've beaten Barcelona, where players have put in a performance like that, admittedly a performance that I think with hindsight, maybe we overrated at the time. I think there's a possibility of that. But it was intense. It was quick. They were getting to the ball first. They beat a team that we thought were really good. And then you get the substitution with Vinicius. Now, I am reluctant to elevate that to this enormous status that it was elevated to, for this to be the thing that completely occupies everything. But it is true that there was a moment in which I felt that Xabi Alonso's authority wasn't reinforced. In fact, I think the opposite. And so that, because if we're going to talk about kind of internal cultures, if we're going to talk about breakdowns, if we're going to talk about relationships, if we're going to talk about managers getting the best out of their players, all of those things, even if they're only small ingredients, play a part in that.
Nobody played well for Real Madrid yesterday. I would say that Kylian Mbappe, he did at least look as if he was trying. He was giving it a go. Had two really good chances which he should have scored but didn't. He hasn't scored for 3 consecutive games. He scored 50% of Real Madrid's goals this season. Yeah. And I know, okay, to be dependent on arguably maybe the world's best player, or certainly one of the best players in the world, one of the best goal scorers in the world, is not in itself too problematic. But I don't know, Vinicius hasn't scored for 7 games. Jude Bellingham is not as comfortable as we thought he was going to be. Rodrigo is just the shadow of a player that he once
29
was.
games without a goal.
February.
29.
I mean, you know,
It's amazing.
Ridiculous. I mean, everybody seems to be falling apart a bit. You mentioned about Ardagula. He's fallen by the wayside, and his position shifted a little bit. Even Dean Howson, who started so promisingly, he's it's I was a little bit sort of dismissive, and I think we both were a little bit laughing at the fact that after the 0-0 game with Rayo Vallecano, there were literally headlines and saying, "Are Real Madrid in crisis?" And obviously, they're not in crisis. They're 1 point clear at the top of the league and the highest rated Spanish team in the Champions League. But there are now serious questions being asked about how this team wants to play, because at the moment, and in Spanish there's this great phrase, este equipo no juega nada. They don't play anything. They don't play anything. They haven't really played anything all season. And at the beginning, we were giving them benefit of the doubt. You said they were boringly good. They're just boring now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it is quite difficult to try and come up with either a solution for that or even a proper explanation as to why it's happening. Xabi Alonso was asked yesterday, why is the team fallen? And fallen has a slightly different nuance in Spanish, but basically the same thing. You know, why have they fallen off? Why have they fallen away? He said they haven't fallen. He says they haven't fallen. We're still competing. We're still okay. And you know, there's what's the explanation? He said, well, football. And of course, that's part of the problem. Yeah, the explanation is football. You're not playing any.
The lack of, yeah. Trent, by the way, I thought Trent yesterday was quite actually shockingly bad in his overall performance. And you know, so a couple of decent balls in, that's what he does.
Yeah.
But overall, this was his chance. He's back from injury, starting. A few chances for other players as well in this game. But I was looking at Trent and thinking, mate, you're not gonna succeed if you play like this.
No, and the day before, Xabi Alonso had said something that I thought was quite striking. He'd been asked about Trent's position and, you know, whether he's ready now and all this kind of stuff. And you know, obviously with Carvajal out and with Fede Valverde having, in theory, to fill in the middle of midfield, but then he didn't start. So that ruins that theory. But, you know, that was the theory because Tchouaméni was not fit. But right, Trent definitely starts this time. And Alonso said, but there are other options. So, you know, Asensio can play there, and who's the other one he mentioned? And Militao could play there.
Militao can play there.
And I just thought to myself, wow, in terms of the management of a player who already feels a little bit like, hang on, this manager is choosing people ahead of me, like Fede Valverde, who shouldn't be ahead of me because he's not a fullback, even when Carvajal's not available. And now he's throwing 2 more men into the mix. And kind of emotionally, I wonder how that is with Trent, who I think is quite a quiet presence in the dressing room. I don't think he's someone who's going to kind of, you know, enforce himself upon everyone and take control. And I think you're right. I think there were a few moments yesterday where we saw some of what he can do. There's a really nice sort of flighted diagonal quite early on. The ball into the box for the Mbappe volley is his. You actually I looked at the figures last night for him, and the figures in terms of what he did with the ball were actually quite good. But it felt vulnerable every time Elche attacked him. Germán Valera had the beating of him every single time. Every time. I think the stat on well, I don't know what you call it. I think it was called ground jewels in the stats that I read. Was that he only won 1 of 7. That's not enough for a fullback.
For a fullback, you know, praise to Elche, but it's a way to Elche. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. I mean, and as I say, the proviso at the start from me was Elche are really good, and I really do not want to just dismiss them. But we're talking about Real Madrid.
I mean, yeah, Elche are, yes. Elche are a breath of fresh air, and they are an exciting team, and they are a newly promoted side who Real Madrid should be able to find a way past. But
and almost did, by the way, even playing badly, you know, because they still have, you know, players where things drop. You take a couple of dead balls and they're well delivered. Yeah. And even if both goals are a little bit fortunate, and as I say, I also think a little bit ropey, both goals, but you know, it happens.
Listen, don't want to be too sort of dramatic, but I actually thought that was a pretty worrying performance from a Real Madrid.
Yes, I agree with you.
They were outplayed by Elche. Both of the Elche goals coming from former Real Madrid canteranos, Aleix Febas and Alvaro Rodriguez with an unbelievably good finish. Aleix Febas,
He's a good player, isn't he?
I mean, we mentioned him as one to watch in the TSFP newsletter a few weeks ago. He is a really, really good player. Really good. He's actually the player that's run the most in La Liga this season. So literally covered the most meters in La Liga. It's Aleix Febas, and you can believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you look at him and you look at Affengruber at the back, and we were doing this team in midweek early last week. We were doing about the team of the season so far. They're both really strong candidates for that.
Affengruber, by the way, is the player with the highest number of recoveries in the opponent's half in the whole division, Sid. The whole
That's
division.
Amazing for a centre back.
Affengruber, centre back of Elche. Yes.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yes. Anyway, really well done from Elche and not great from Real Madrid at all. The good news for them is that they're still top of the league. There is still plenty of time for them to get it together. But the last three games, the defeat at Liverpool, the 0-0 draw with Rayo, and the 0-0 and the 2-2 draw with Elche, a little bit worrying. Yes. All right, let's talk about the game at the camp now. And like I said, I don't necessarily want to dwell too much on returning to the stadium, because that is what you talked about in the TSFP diary. Barcelona beating Athletic 4-0. This game, it was marked a little bit, I feel, by Unai Simon being really not very good in the Athletic Club goal, and we've spoken about that in today's newsletter, because the first two goals he really has to be saving, but he didn't. And Robert Lewandowski, Bobby Lowe, scored his 109th goal for Barcelona, and then Ferran Torres scored just before half-time, and then they scored just after half-time to make it 3-0. Oyan Sanset gets a ridiculous red card, and ridiculous meaning stupid, ridiculously stupid challenge from him, and it was game over. Athletic shot themselves in the foot here because they contributed to their downfall massively. But what did you make of Barcelona's performance, Sid? I thought there were some standout performers, not least, and shall we talk about him? Eric Garcia, mate. Yep. Eric Garcia. What, I thought it was a midfield masterclass from him. He started in the heart of midfield.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this on Friday, didn't we? We were saying we didn't know what the lineup would be in midfield. We weren't sure what the solution would be. I don't know. I promise you, I am not lying. I promise you I'm not lying. I don't know if we said Eric Garcia, but as we were talking on Friday, I was thinking, I wonder if Eric Garcia will play there. I can't remember if we actually said it or not. We might not have done.
No, we didn't say. We said Marc Casado would play and Fermin and Dani Olmo would be all.
Did we? Right. Okay. Well, there you go. But I promise you I was thinking of Eric Garcia. But anyway, his performance there was brilliant. Really brilliant. His timing, his positioning, his understanding of the game. You were talking a minute ago about low-key players of the season, or low-key players that get in the 11. He's 100% in it. The only problem is you don't know which position to put him in.
He's played three positions this season,
and this was
really
his best.
Well.
This was his best, I think. Honestly, better even than his performances at fullback and at central defence. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I thought Fermin alongside him was brilliant. I thought Olmo wasn't, to be honest with you. Obviously, Lamine Yamal was brilliant as well. But I think you're right. I think we need to. I don't really know what to say about Eric Garcia, because the thing about Eric Garcia is he's been so good all season, and yet you sort of still feel like he's still a player that Flick wants in the team, but kind of really wants him in the team where he needs him rather than where Eric needs to be. If you
I don't know. I think he's first choice centre back.
Okay.
I do.
All right, yeah.
I think him and Kubarsi are the first choice centre back pairing.
I think you're right. He probably is.
He played in midfield today, on Saturday, because there was no Pedri and there was no Frenkie de Jong. It was the first time since the 30th of March, 2023, that they'd been without Pedri and Frenkie de Jong for a league game.
I didn't know that. That's pretty striking, isn't it? So neither of them there. And as I say, the thing for me was that ability to always. So one of the things that obviously, I mean, look, this is going to sound really, really obvious, but bear with me, because I think actually sometimes when you watch a game from higher up, it kind of, when it keeps happening, you start thinking there's something here. So every time that a Barcelona player got in trouble and there wasn't a way out, suddenly Eric would be standing there. Like, there's your little pass, give it to me. Every time that Eric looked like he didn't have a way out, he would either pause and allow a defender to move out of the way, or turn and find a way out. And I think for me, the thing that really struck me about him was that when it looked like they were crowded, he was the one, there's a lovely Spanish phrase for this, he was the one that oxygenated the football. He was the one that gave them, No, oxygen. Anyway, oxygen, gave it air, gave it breathing room all the time. Obviously, oxidized tends to mean rusted, doesn't it, in Spanish? But which is a different player.
Yes.
But it was I thought it was brilliant, and it was brilliant in an understanding way, rather than I don't think we saw a single outrageous pass from him, or a single outrageous run from him.
No.
Or a single thing that he did brilliantly. He just did everything so well. He just always found the solution to every time they were either crowded, or every time they needed a pass, or every time they needed to open the pitch out a little bit, give people that breathing room. I thought he was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Good, completely agree. Can we just delve into the area of polemic a little bit? We don't like to do this. Usually it's because of a reaction of constantly being bombarded by hyperbolic debates on Spanish media. Anyway,
did you listen to, just a very brief one, sorry. There was one of the Spanish radios did this thing about Lamine Yamal and his hip issue, or is this where you're going? No, no,
potentially.
Okay. Just to say that Lamine Yamal, who has a brilliant game, and rather than talking about that, one of the radio shows I listened to literally spent 45 minutes shouting at each other about his pubis issue again. I don't care. We've heard it. Stop it. Is that where you're going?
Let's move on. So, well, no. What I mean, yes and no.
Okay,
he did play well. He provided two. I mean, he did play well, yes, and he provided two absolutely extraordinarily good assists.
The second assist is amazing.
The second assist is a joke. It's an absolute joke. Yeah, he's a genius when he does that. He played 90 minutes, Sid.
Oh, he shouldn't have done. I do agree with that.
I mean,
well, maybe he should have done. I don't know. I'm not the doctor with his. I haven't got his groin in my hands. Pardon the mental image, but exactly. I'm not the one tending to his groin. So I don't know the management of it. But yeah, there is a bit of me. I sort of agree with it. There's a bit of me that it does. You do sort of think a little bit. You didn't go with Spain, but you just played 90 minutes when you're 4-0 up. You didn't really need to.
Against 10 men.
Against 10 men, yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
When you're going to play Chelsea in the Champions League in 3 days.
Well, I assume, by the way, but I mean, bear in mind that this is an important point, actually. Barcelona are going to play Chelsea in the Champions League, not the Spanish national team. So if Barcelona have played him for 90 minutes, it's because Barcelona believe he can play Chelsea for 90 minutes. So this isn't the same as flogging him for 90 minutes and then thinking, it doesn't matter if he doesn't play for the national team, sod them, is it?
No. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is the context. You play all these minutes, and then you've got a really big.
I suppose the counter argument might be that maybe this shows that what was it called, radio frequency treatment,
the
really invasive radio frequency treatment really works. Anyway, I must admit, honestly, I was flipando, as they say in Spanish.
Flipping in colours.
Yeah.
Quick word on Athletic and
not very good.
What about Nico Williams?
Because
I mean, he scored a lovely goal against Oviedo, but
hasn't been his season at all, has it?
It's not been 18 months. He's been
basically post Euros. He's really not done very much post Euros. That's maybe a little unfair. Bear in mind that Athletic did get into a Champions League place last year, and he was an important part of that. Although I actually think their outstanding player last year was Iñaki, not him.
Yes.
I thought Iñaki was fantastic last year.
15 goals from Sunset.
Exactly. 15 goals from Sunset as the arriving midfielder. There's an issue with Nico.
Does feel like there is. And Athletic really not good at all. I mean, they haven't won at the Camp Nou since 2001. They haven't kept a clean sheet there for 41 years. So it was perhaps a perfect game for Barcelona to go back to the Camp Nou. Getafe 0, Atletico Madrid 1. Okay, let's
lovely finish. It's a lovely finish for the goal.
I mean, yes, it is. Poor old Domingos Duarte, who looked absolutely beside himself when he scored that own goal, as did David Soria as well, who had made a couple of decent, really good saves for Getafe to keep Atleti at bay.
Can I do the rubbish joke?
Always.
Well, Domingos was sorry. David was Soria.
I mean, I just knew what it was going to be before. You even said it. Did you ever
Sorry.
think, Sid, that we'd be getting? I'm much sorrier. Did you ever think that we'd be getting to a point where we'd be saying Atletico Madrid are sort of a little bit dependent on Giuliano Simeone?
No,
I think
absolutely not.
I think we're there because he didn't play in this game, and Marcos Llorente started on that right-hand side and then had to go off after 12 minutes, and that completely changed it. But without Giuliano Simeone, there's really no one in that team that does what he can do.
And the weird thing about that is, actually, on the face of it, Nico Gonzalez can, albeit on the other wing. They're similar profiles, I think, in terms of how they play the game.
Technical, isn't he?
Yes, but I do think they are both still people who really aggressively go at you, who
Yeah.
run at you in sort of straight lines, although actually sort of curved straight line, if you sort of a curved line. It's going forwards all the time, but it's on a slight bend. So yeah, the answer to your question is no, I didn't. The answer to your question, though, if we analyze the last 8 weeks, 7-8 weeks, is that actually maybe you could see it coming because he was becoming so important week after week, and that you did sort of think, I wonder what will happen when he's missing. And I think actually Marcos Llorente was the obvious change because stylistically, in theory, there's something similar about them. Again, high intensity, running at you very straight, bombing up and down the wing, staying quite wide, and then kind of bending your way in. Those kind of movements are semi-similar. But his level of sort of mad intensity, his level of kind of your head is going to explode intensity, I don't think even Llorente has.
No, certainly not. We'll see when they get Giuliano Simeone back. They've got a big game in the Champions League as well, midweek, Atletico Madrid against Inter at the.
There's another. Sorry, Phil. There's another thing that I think. Here's a question for you, which is another one to sort of debate starting, maybe overly trying too hard to find controversy. Do Atletico Madrid have a problem with Julian Alvarez away from home, where his performances are absolutely anonymous?
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Because he's such a good footballer.
He's such a good footballer.
His away performances have been really poor. And one of the things that happened in this game that has happened, I don't have the stats in front of me, so apologies for this, but I feel like it's happened at least 4 or 5 times in away games, is he's withdrawn really early. It's like Simeone very quickly thinks, nah, it's not his day.
58 minutes he went off to yesterday.
And we've seen half-time withdrawals, we've seen kind of 55-minute withdrawals. I don't know. I just wonder about him a little bit.
Well, I mean, Atletico Madrid's away form in general has given us lots to talk about. This was the second away win of the season. Back-to-back away wins. They won their last game against Betis as well. They only won 8 of 19 away games last season, so we know that their away form has been ropey for a while. But yeah, if you're clearly best player is not performing on the road, then you do have a little bit of a problem. That's not that polemic, Sid. I thought you were going to say something, about the ref.
I just thought the idea of starting a debate about Julian, who's clearly very, very good, might be slightly controversial. I mean, put it this way: if we were on a certain radio show,
yes,
we'd be shouting at each other now.
Yes. Well, we're shouting in agreement because we agree.
So. That's true. Yeah, it wouldn't be much.
Yeah, let's try a bit harder to disagree. I'm going through these. He's only got 1 goal away from home, and that was the first match day of the season,
which they then lost.
The only game that they've lost. So strange. Go on then. TSFP derby: Oviedo 0, Rayo Vallecano 0. Are we going to talk about the refs? Some strange refereeing in this game.
Yeah.
Listen, Rayo get a penalty. It's not a bloody penalty. It's a very, 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 very soft penalty. Patesis gets sent off right at the end, very stupidly. I think your fella probably did deserve a red card, Sid, actually.
I felt sorry for him because he was launching at the ball, but he got it really badly wrong. And I think you can be sent off for it. I would have, frankly, doesn't matter that it's about Oviedo. I would rather see those given as yellow because I can see that it's not done with malicious intent, but I can see that it's timed badly. It's an orange, isn't it? And so you can give a red. Yeah, you can give a red. But you know what I thought was the thing that got me about him was
about who?
The referee.
Oh, right, yeah.
And this comes to something, we talk about this. I always say it's not really the decisions themselves that occupy my mind, and certainly not the conspiracies that occupy my mind. It's kind of the conceptual things or the behavioral things.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of those referees who seems to be in such a hurry to make his decision. And it's just like, it's the kind of the body language. So on that red card, for example, it's like, whoa, there it is, in your face. It's like, well, all right, doesn't matter. Just show him the card. It doesn't make it any more red if you go, whoa. And I just kind of thought, wow, you had to use a Spanishism. You had some serious ganas to show that card, didn't you? You like you were enjoying that a bit too much.
Oh, the TSFP guys who go, oh, we don't talk about the referees until it's a game involving our two teams.
For what it's worth, it was actually when we were talking about this. I was going to say off air on WhatsApp on Sunday. I thought it was an all right 0-0, and considering how many poor games I've seen from Oviedo this year, I thought it was okay. I thought Oviedo were quite good for about an hour. I thought Rayo was surprisingly blunt, I thought, against 10 men when they were in a position to try and look for the goal. They did hit the bar with an amazing Pedro Diaz shot. There's the penalty, obviously, which is saved by Aaron, who at some point you're going to have to back down and say he is the best goalkeeper in the league.
He's the best goalkeeper in the league.
I mean, it's not good for us, by the way. Here's me championing him. I really wish I didn't have to champion our goalkeeper, considering we're bottom anyway. Imagine where we'd be without him. God knows. Yes. In the second division, I think, is the answer to that question.
Well, it feels like you're heading.
You might be there anyway. Yes, I know.
Luis Carrion, the first Oviedo manager in history to not win any of his first 5 games.
How about that? And a manager who still never won in the first division, because he went to Las Palmas in the first division and was sacked without having had a win. Has gone to Oviedo, hasn't yet had a win. It's something like, is it like 18 games now? Something like that?
There's loads of games, to be fair.
Yeah, so how many was it with Las Palmas? Like 9 or something, and he's had at least 6 or 7 with Oviedo, hasn't he?
Oh, yes.
Or did you say 5? Sorry. So it's
5, yeah.
So okay, 14 plus a cup game. Well, that doesn't count in the first division, obviously.
Away to Atletico Madrid next week.
Yeah, we're not winning that.
Yeah.
Julian will score in that one.
Yeah, he bloody will. We've got a hat-trick against Rayo at home. Will you go to that game?
I will.
As a fan or as a worker?
No, as a fan. I believe Alex is going to that game as a worker. So I might ask him to stand at the top of the tunnel and give all of the Oviedo players a big hug when they come off the pitch. Yeah, devastated and wanting to cry. What could be more comforting than having Kirkles waiting for you at the top of those stairs?
Very few things on earth. Yeah. Okay, before we go, this is what happened in the Segunda. 3 teams, Depor, Racing and Las Palmas, are all level on 29 points at the top of the table.
Second division, great, isn't it? I'm pretending I like it again now because I'm realising that I'm having to go back there.
It is fantastic. That's Depor beat Celta 2-1, Racing won 2-0 at Burgos, and Las Palmas beat Albacete 2-1. Incredible goal from Albacete in that game. Go and have a look at it if you haven't seen it. And Almeria are just a point behind them, having played a game fewer. So it's all go in the Segunda. See, that's where the real action is.
That is where the real football is, yeah. Although, actually, you know what? Let's say this because we actually haven't mentioned this and we talk about it with Segunda. The top 4 in Primera are only 4 points apart. Could we actually have a bad enough Madrid and Barcelona that we have a title race that's not just 2 teams? That would be fun, wouldn't it?
It's true. I was just about to mention it, and then
sorry.
No, not then. But then I got distracted. Yeah, because it is true. Real Madrid are 32 points, Barcelona 31, Villarreal 29, and Atletico Madrid 28. So it is very, very close between that top 4, which means it's a very exciting season so far in Spanish football.
I do hope so.
Which means that you should be listening to us every single week, and of course, subscribing on patreon.com/TSFP for more bonus content. That's where we'll be for the rest of the week. If you don't want to do that, we'll be here on Friday to look ahead to Matchday 14. So make sure you join us then, amigos. Adios.
Cheerio.